Hi, Life Science students. This lesson is on cell energy. How do we get energy? It's in Chapter 5, Section 1, pages 148 to 151. I'll be including the pages in this lesson, so you can go and get your books if you want, or you can just look at the pages that are on the screen. You will need the Cornell Notes assignment that I gave you in class. Make sure that you write the topic name on here, cell energy. Okay, and there's only one drawing that we're going to be doing in the big drawing area, and then we'll talk about the questions that you need to write on the left-hand side. So, how do you get your energy? You know that you breathe in oxygen, okay, and our bodies use that oxygen somehow. You also have to eat, okay, otherwise you don't have energy. So somehow our body is able to take the food that we eat and the oxygen we breathe and turn it into energy. Well, what about plants? Do plants breathe? Oh, that's a question we're going to be answering. You probably learned about photosynthesis, so you know about how they take in sunlight and carbon dioxide and water and convert it into sugar. But how do they get their energy? All right, well, this whole lesson is going to be talking about that. So first, we're going to be reading some in the textbook. This is page 148 from your textbook. I'm simply just going to read. You can follow along. I'll also highlight certain things as we go through. But first, I'm going to start up here with the main topic, cell energy. The key concept: all cells need energy to carry out cell functions. However, cells may obtain and process energy in different ways. So first of all, just a little food for thought here, no pun intended. Okay, maybe a little bit. Why do you get hungry? Feeling hungry is your body's way of telling you that your cells need energy. All cells need energy to live, grow, and reproduce. Plant cells get their energy from the sun. Many animal cells get their energy from food. That's key, okay? Now, plant cells get their energy from the sun. All right, well, yes, that's part of the story. They get their energy from the sun because they take the sun's energy, convert it into food, and then from that food, they're able to convert it into energy just like we do. And then animal cells get their energy from food. So we have to eat food from outside of our bodies, then we take that food and convert it into energy. So all life forms on the planet take food and convert it into energy, including oxygen. All right, so first we're going to talk a little bit, or read a little bit about the sun to cell, okay? Nearly all of the energy that fuels life comes from the sun. Plants absorb energy from the sun and change the energy into food through a process called photosynthesis. The food that plants make gives them energy because then they go through the process of cellular respiration to turn it into energy. Okay? Then this food that they make actually becomes a source of energy for organisms that eat the plants. So you get your energy indirectly from the sun as well. So I want to highlight something that's very, very important here. Nearly all energy that fuels life comes from the sun. Think about that. So plants take this energy from the sun and convert it into food. They use that food to make energy for themselves. But what if somebody eats the plant? Well, then they're getting their energy from the sun that the plant used to make itself food. Okay, what about animals that eat other animals? Well, animals that eat other animals, those animals typically eat plants, and so then the animals that eat other animals, they're getting their energy from the sun as well. It's all a big food web, right, from last year's Earth Science. Okay. Whoops, sorry about that. Clear the ink. All right, now let's look about photosynthesis here a little bit. So, I'm going to start reading right here. Photosynthesis. Plant cells have molecules that absorb light energy. These molecules are called pigments. Chlorophyll, the main pigment used in photosynthesis, gives plants their green color. Chlorophyll is found in chloroplasts. So now you know why I had you color the chloroplasts green, because of that chlorophyll pigment. Plants cannot use energy directly from the sun to perform life processes. Instead, they use the sun's energy to change carbon dioxide and water into food. Okay, so that's key. We have the sun's energy, carbon dioxide, and water, and they use all three of those to make food. The food is in the form of a simple sugar, glucose. Glucose can be stored and used by the plant cells. Photosynthesis also produces oxygen. It's just kind of a waste product of the chemical equation. So here's the chemical equation here at the bottom. So I've got carbon dioxide and water and the sun, light energy, okay? So that comes right from here, okay? So your plant, that's why you need to water your plants, okay? And from that, they're able to make their food, okay? That's the part they need, okay? Now this other part, this oxygen part, that part they don't need necessarily. I mean, they do for cellular respiration, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But any excess oxygen is then a waste product that is released, okay, out of the plant. All right, so now let's look at page 149. So this is where we get energy from food, okay? And so this first sentence is key. Animal cells cannot make their own food. We cannot just go out into the sun and lay out in the sun and get our lunch. Okay? Animal cells must eat to get food. No matter how an organism gets food, the food must be broken down in the organism's cells in order to free the energy stored in the food. Even plant cells must break down the food that they make during photosynthesis. So that's key. Plant cells do not get energy directly from photosynthesis. They do photosynthesis to get their food, but then they also must do this other thing called cellular respiration to free the energy from the food that they make. Okay? So cells can break down food in two ways. The first way is cellular respiration, a process that uses oxygen. The second way does not use oxygen. This process is called fermentation. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Cellular respiration releases more energy from food than fermentation does. So most complex organisms, such as plants and animals, get most of their energy through cellular respiration. All right, now this next part, I'm going to have you rethink about what you've learned in the past. Do plants breathe? I bet a lot of you said no, plants don't breathe. They only do photosynthesis. But I'm here to tell you, plants breathe. All plants do something called cellular respiration. Now, I was using the word breathe because I know that that's something that you know, but technically it's not breathing. It's called cellular respiration. Okay? The word respiration means breathing, but cellular respiration is different from breathing. Cellular respiration is the chemical process that happens in the individual cells, in the little itty-bitty cells. In prokaryotic cells, like bacteria, cellular respiration happens in the cell membrane. In eukaryotic cells, like our cells, cellular respiration takes place mostly in the mitochondria. So when you all learned about the mitochondria, you learned about it as being the power source of the cell. This is what we're talking about. During cellular respiration, food, such as glucose, is broken down into CO2 and water. CO2 and water. And what we get from that is energy. That's what we want. Energy is liberated or freed. Okay? In animals, most of the freed energy is used to keep a constant body temperature. Some of the energy is used to form adenosine triphosphate. That's the ATP. All right, you ready? Adenosine triphosphate. Again, adenosine triphosphate. You can just call it ATP. That's energy. Molecules of ATP supply readily available energy that fuels cells' activities such as growth. Okay? The process of cellular respiration is shown in Figure 2. Does the equation in Figure and the figure reminds you of the equation for photosynthesis. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. So if you see the equation down here, okay, you'll see that there's the CO2 right here, okay, the water, the water right here, okay, those are the two things that are products, okay, so, and then you get energy, but what goes in on the equation is the food that you eat plus the oxygen that you breathe. Okay, so it's really important that we breathe and eat in order to get the energy that we need. Now these waste products, carbon dioxide and water, what happens to them? Okay, well, the carbon dioxide, you probably know, you exhale out. Okay, that's what you breathe out. The water, okay, we use water for a lot of things in our bodies. If we end up with too much water, well, you pee it out. I know, I said it, pee. Okay, so what you're going to do, this is your assignment now that you've been listening to me blather about all this stuff. We are going to be drawing this picture. It's on page 150. Okay, you can look at the picture on page 150 as we draw this, okay, or you can just follow along as I draw it on the next slide or the next screen. Okay, so what we have here is we have a plant cell right here, okay, and it has several chloroplasts right here, and the chloroplast has been blown up to a big chloroplast here, okay, but the plant cells also have mitochondria, these blue ones right here. This mitochondria has been blown up to here, showing that plants have both mitochondria and chloroplast and use both chloroplast and mitochondria. Then over here we have an animal cell, and animal cells have plenty of mitochondria, like this one, that's been blown up into this same one. So we're going to be doing some of this drawing, and then we're going to be labeling all these other things too. Okay? Alright, so you should now have your Cornell notes. You're going to be doing the drawing in this part here. Okay? And then at the end, when we're all done, this is where your 3 questions are going to go. Okay? Try to make them some, complex questions. But your questions can be, a possible quiz question. This is just like last time. Could be something that a question you don't know, or something that you're still unsure about in the notes, or something that you're just wondering. You just wonder about that's related to our notes. All right, so on page 150, this is where I'm at, and I'm going to start drawing this picture. I do highly recommend that you draw this in color. Highly recommend that you draw this in color. You don't have to use the exact same colors that I do, although the chloroplasts I recommend you do green ones. It's highly recommended that you do color. Basically, your grade will be higher if you use color. All right, so I'm going to put a sun over here. Okay, and then I'm going to draw a plant cell down here, and then an animal cell over here. I'm just kind of putting these things so that I'm sure I have enough room for everything. And then I'm going to put energy, ATP, over here. Alright, and then inside of the plant cell, and I'm going to make this too big, but I'm going to draw a chloroplast. Okay, and a mitochondria. And in the animal cell, I'm going to draw a mitochondria. Okay, and then I'm going to draw the big ones. So here's my big bean-shaped mitochondria. And then my big chloroplast over here. going to draw kind of the blow up shadows that go to each of them. So this one goes here, and then this one goes here, and the animal cell one comes up here, like that, so that you can see. All right, now we have a bunch of labeling to do. So this one is the sun, or light energy. And that goes into the chloroplasts. And then this one is the chloroplast. And then this is a plant cell. And over here is an animal cell. And then over here on the right is the mitochondrion. Remember, one mitochondria is a mitochondrion. Okay. So then the light energy comes into the chloroplast, okay, and with the food, or then that helps to make the food for the plant cell, and then the plant cell can use that food plus the oxygen that it takes in with its mitochondria to release energy. Okay, so let's do some of the arrows now. So I'm going to do, let's see, I guess I'll use red so it matches the one in the book. So this one goes here. Okay. And this one, I'm just going to write the plain words of it. So we've got food plus oxygen goes in with the mitochondria, and then the other one I'm going to use the same color. I'm going to use the purple that they use. And so then the mitochondria, it's all a big cycle, is carbon dioxide and water. Okay, and I'm going to add the thing that's released out of the mitochondria is the energy. So way over here on the right. Okay, so photosynthesis is when the light energy goes into the chloroplast along with carbon dioxide and water. See, all of that's going into the chloroplast. And what you get out of it is food and oxygen. See how that works? Then with the mitochondria, what goes into the mitochondria is food and oxygen. And what comes out is the energy up in the top, and then the carbon dioxide and the water as a waste product, which then can be used in the chloroplast with the sunlight sun energy for photosynthesis. You get it? It's all a big cycle. All a big cycle. Okay? Now on the next screen, I'm going to write down the definitions for cellular respiration and photosynthesis that are on page 150. I just don't have enough room to write them right here. So here are my writings, my definitions that I'd like you to use on your drawing instead of the ones that are in the textbook. The ones in the textbook are kind of confusing and a little bit incorrect. So at the top, where it says cellular respiration in the drawing on page 150, write what you see here instead. So this part, cellular respiration, uses oxygen and food, glucose, to produce energy. Cellular respiration releases carbon dioxide and water as waste products. And then at the bottom of your drawing, where it talks about photosynthesis, you're going to write this instead. Photosynthesis uses energy from sunlight plus water and carbon dioxide to produce food, glucose, which plant and animal cells use to make ATP, or energy. During photosynthesis, oxygen is released as a waste product. All right, pause if you need more time. So that's it for this lesson. Don't forget to write your 3 questions on the left-hand side of the Cornell notes. Remember, the questions can be either a possible quiz question that you might see about these notes, or something that you're still unclear of about the notes, or something that you're just wondering about with that pertains to the notes. And as always, if you have any questions, post them here on EduCreations online, or ask in class. See you in class.